Welcome to Cassie's Learn to Play video for Stellar Leap from Weird Giraffe Games. In Stellar Leap, players are alien species exploring the galaxy in attempts to complete tasks which will earn them prestige. The most prestigious alien species at the end of the game is the winner. Today we are going to learn how to set up and play Stellar Leap, and then we will learn about the solitaire version of the game and the stretch goal 5th player variant of the game. Please be aware that this is a prototype version of the game, and it may be slightly different from the final rules and components. Ready to explore strange new worlds? Follow me as we take our Stellar Leap. In the 1 to 4 player game Stellar Leap, players are alien species whose civilizations are finally ready to explore space once again after years of rebuilding their war-torn worlds following the Great War. Each player will travel through solar systems, searching for planets and asteroids which are rich with resources and viable for population growth. Players will earn prestige throughout the game by completing missions, discovering planets and asteroids, attacking opponents, and completing hidden objectives known as traits. Events will occur at different moments throughout the game, and the last round will be triggered when the 6th event occurs. Whichever player finishes the game with the most prestige is the winner of Stellar Leap. Included in Stellar Leap are 28 planet and asteroid cards made up of 4 home planets, 12 safe planets and asteroids, and 12 dangerous planets and asteroids. There are also 12 event cards, 8 trait cards, 6 dice cards, 12 dice power cards made up of 8 player cards, and 4 community cards, and 34 mission cards, 11 of Tier 1, 11 of Tier 2, and 12 of Tier 3. Stellar Leap also comes with 4 player boards, 5 dice, 2 main dice and 3 asteroid dice, 40 population figures made up of 4 different colors, 16 resource cubes made up of 4 different colors, 20 action tracker cubes made up of 4 different colors, 48 player chits made up of 4 different colors, 3 solo variant cards, a first player marker, and 4 reference cards. Stellar Leap is set up in 2 areas, the player area and the galaxy area. Let's first learn how to set up the player area, and then we will learn how to set up the galaxy. To begin setting up the player area, each player first chooses a player board and takes 1 resource cube of each color and sets them onto their matching resource trackers in the 3 space. This is where players will keep track of their 4 resources throughout the game: fuel, water, food, and oxygen. Players use resources throughout the game to complete tasks and missions. Each player takes a set of 10 population figures in their player board's color and adds the population figures to their population track. Players also take 12 chits, which match their player board's color, and 5 action tracker cubes, which match their color. Chits are used to keep track of planets discovered and opponents attacked. The 5 action tracker cubes are placed onto the action track, and this is where players keep track of the actions they take on their turn. Each player takes a home planet card which matches their color and a reference card. Each player will be given 2 random trait cards and 2 random player dice power cards from their respective shuffled decks. Some trait cards are specific to player counts, and any cards which do not apply are removed from the game before their decks are shuffled and dealt out. Trait cards provide players with special objectives, which earn them prestige. Dice power cards may be used to manipulate dice rolls. After each player has received their 2 trait cards and player dice power cards, each player privately selects one of each card type and returns the other to the box. Trait cards are secret and are not revealed until the end of the game. Player dice power cards, however, are left revealed throughout the game. Each player area is now set up and ready for the game. Next is to set up the galaxy in which players are exploring. First, the dice cards are set up in a row with the 1 dice pip card on the left and increasing in number to the right. The event deck is shuffled and set to the side of the galaxy. Events are triggered by different occurrences in the game, which we will learn more about later, and also keep track of the game time. Remember, when the 6th event occurs, the final round is triggered. A random community dice power card is selected and placed to the side of the galaxy as well. Community dice power cards work the same way as player dice power cards in that they manipulate dice rolls. Now start starting with the player who traveled the furthest to play and continuing clockwise. Each player chooses a dice card column and a row known in the game as Solar System in which to place their home planet. When a player places her planet, it is placed in the solar system closest to the dice card. The player places the population figure from the one spot on her player board to her home planet. The population figure is placed on the part of her home planet with the planet habitat icon. If a player wishes to place her home planet in the same dice card column as an opponent, she may do so, but she must place her home planet in the next solar system. Whenever a planet is placed into a dice card column which already has a planet, it is always placed into the next closest solar system to the dice cards. Next, the mission cards are separated by tier and placed in order with Tier 1 first, then Tier 2, then Tier 3. For the mission Tiers 1 and 2 decks, players create the decks using only an amount of cards equal to 2 times the number of players. So for a 2-player game, the Tier 1 and Tier 2 decks would be made up of 4 cards in each deck. For the Tier 3 deck, all the Tier 3 mission cards are used. After the mission decks are placed in order, 4 Tier 1 mission cards are revealed and placed near the mission decks. In a 2-player game, this means all of the Tier 1 mission cards would be revealed. Players now separate the safe planet cards from the dangerous planet cards, shuffle them separately, and create 2 decks of cards to be placed near the galaxy, a safe planet deck and a dangerous planet deck. Stellar Leap is now set up, and players are ready to explore the galaxy. On the active player's turn, she begins by looking at the galaxy to see if she has any population figures on the exhausted area of any planet cards. If she does, she moves all of her population figures to the planet habitat side of the planet. Next, she rolls the 2 main dice to make planets generate resources. If she wants to, she may use either her player dice power or the community dice power to modify the results of her dice roll. After the first player has decided to manipulate the dice or not, any planets which are in the columns matching the value of the dice and the sum of the dice generate resources, regardless of which solar system they are in. If doubles are rolled, the planets in the column matching the dice faces will generate twice the amount of resources. Each player with at least 1 population figure on the planet habitat part of a planet generating resources this turn will receive the resources shown on the planet card. If a planet has more than 1 of any player's population figures, that player does not earn additional resources. The players who do receive resources will adjust their appropriate resource cubes to the right for every resource of that type gained. For example, the Victory planet generates 1 food resource and 2 water resources for each player who has a population figure on the planet card on the planet habitat icon. These players move their water resource cubes to the right 2 times and their food resource cube to the right 1 time. If a planet contains at least 1 population figure from all players or 3 different figures in a 4-player game, the planet is considered overpopulated, and players instead earn the resources shown on the overpopulated part of the planet. Now that all the appropriate players have adjusted for their resources gained, it's time for the active player to make some decisions. The next step of a player's turn involves choosing actions to take to best earn more prestige. The active player may choose from 3 types of actions: active high command actions, population movement, or to activate divisions and take division actions. As the active player takes her actions, she moves her action tracker cubes down to remind herself of actions already taken. The only action type without a tracker is the population movement action. The first action type is high command, which includes 4 different actions the active player can choose from. She may perform up to 2 of the high command actions, and she can choose to take the same action twice. The first high command action is populate. This action allows players to grow their populations. If chosen, the active player spends 2 food resources and 1 water resource to move 1 population figure off of her track and onto a planet's habitat icon, which already contains 1 of her population figures. The second high command action is tax. This action lets players earn resources. If chosen, the active player simply increases 2 resources of her choice. The third high command action is discover. This action is how new planets and asteroids are added to the galaxy. If chosen, the active player draws 2 cards from either planet deck, chooses 1, and returns the other to the bottom of its deck. Next, the active player chooses a column to place her discovered planet or asteroid and places it in the closest space available in that column to the dice card. She places one of her chits onto the planet or asteroid in the Discover Location space. If she discovered an asteroid, she places an asteroid die onto the card with the value of 3. The fourth high command action is to attack an opponent. This is another way a player may earn prestige during the game. If chosen, the active player chooses a planet to attack and moves more population figures to that planet than the sum of all other players' population figures on the same planet. Home planets may only be habitable by home planet species and are off limits for attacking and populating by opponents. The active player may move population figures from different planets for the attack. After she has done so, she defeats the opponents on the planet. These opponents take their population figures off of the planet on which they were attacked in retreat and relocate them to any planet in the same solar system. If there are no planets in the same solar system, the retreating players may choose from a planet of their choice in the nearest solar system. When doing so, the retreating opponents place their population figures on the exhausted area of the planet. Retreating is a free movement which does not cost the retreating players any resources. The active player takes one chit from every player successfully attacked. The more players on a planet, the more chits the active player earns from the successful attack. Those were the 4 high command actions. The active player may choose to take any 2 actions from those 4. Let's now learn about the second action type the active player may choose from. The second action type the active player can take is population movement. There is the only one option for this action type, and it allows players to move their populations around to different planets in the galaxy. To do so, the active player takes as many population figures as she would like from one planet to another. She spends 1 oxygen resource per figure. She also spends 1 fuel per solar system traveled, as well as fuel equal to the threat level of the planet to which she is moving her figures. A player may move her populations as much as she likes on her turn, as long as she has the resources to do so. Now that we've learned about the high command and population movement action types, we have one more to learn about, which are the divisions players may activate. There are 3 divisions, and the active player may choose to activate each one on her turn. The first division is the Intelligence division. This division completes missions. If the active player chooses to activate this division, she chooses 1 mission to complete from the 4 available. She reduces her resources on her player board according to the mission's requirements, gains the resources earned for the completed mission, and takes the mission card for endgame points. The value is shown next to the prestige icon on the card. After the active player takes the completed mission card, she replaces it with a new mission card from the lowest available tiered deck. The second division is the Mining division. This division mines asteroids for resources. If the active player chooses to activate this division, she chooses 1 asteroid to mine. She moves 1 population figure from any planet to the asteroid, spending 1 oxygen resource and 1 fuel per solar system traveled, as well as fuel equal to the threat level of the asteroid to which she is moving her figure, just like she would when moving figures to planets. She now rolls a number of dice equal to the value of the asteroid die on the asteroid card. Next, she earns the resources provided by the asteroid equal to the sum of what is shown on the card and the value of the highest rolled die. If she had chosen to mine an asteroid with no asteroid die on it, she would only receive the resources shown on the asteroid card. After receiving her resources, the active player reduces the asteroid die by 1, or removes it if it was already valued at 1, and returns her figure to its original location. The final division a player may activate is the Labor division. This division allows players to receive resources from a planet immediately, but at a price. If the active player chooses to activate this division, she chooses 1 population figure currently on the habitat side of a planet and moves it to the exhausted side, and then receives the resources shown on the exhausted area. Unfortunately, exhausted populations cannot harvest generated resources, be moved, or attack opponents until the active player's turn begins again and she recovers her exhausted population. We've now learned of all of the actions available for the active player to choose from on her turn. Players may take their action options in any order, regardless of their action type. For example, a player may choose to take 1 high command action and then activate 2 divisions, move her population figures, and then take her second high command action afterwards. Throughout the game, players will trigger events to occur when taking actions. These events are what lead to the game ending, as the 6th event drawn establishes the final round. An event card is drawn and its effects are applied during 5 different occurrences. The first is if the last planet in a solar system is discovered. The second is when all players reach a total of 3, 6, or 9 population in the galaxy. The third is after 3, 6, or 9 asteroids have been discovered. The fourth occurrence is if a tier of missions are completed. And the final occurrence is when a planet deck is depleted. Sometimes more than one event may be triggered, leading to more than one event card being drawn on a single player's turn. After a player has taken all of her chosen actions, she checks to make sure she didn't forget any event triggers. If she did forget, she draws the appropriate amount of event cards and applies the effects. She also resets her action tracker cubes. Her turn is now over, and the next player begins his turn by recovering his exhausted populations. Once the 6th event card is drawn and applied, players continue the active round until all players have had an opportunity to take equal number of turns. The game is now finished, and players add up their prestige. First, players total the number of discoveries they've made and earn the prestige bonus according to their discoveries. Next, players earn the prestige bonus from the total number of chits they have from successful attacks against opponents. Then players add up their prestige from completed missions, trait cards, and also earn 1 prestige for every population figure in the galaxy. Whichever player has the most prestige total wins Stellar Leap. In addition to Stellar Leap playing 2 to 4 players, there is a solitaire version of the game available, as well as a 5th player variant. Let's see the differences in these 2 alternate ways to play Stellar Leap. In the solitaire version of Stellar Leap, after you choose your player board, you then choose a different color for your opponent, an artificially intelligent player representing the game, which you will perform actions for, as the game plays against you in attempts to earn more prestige than you. You will also choose one of the 3 artificial intelligence cards. You then place your home planet as usual, and you place the opponent home planet in the furthest available column to the right. Place one of the opponent player figures on the opponent home planet. Then set the game up as normal for 2 players. You are the first player in the solitaire version of Stellar Leap, so you take your full turn as normal. When your turn is over, the artificially intelligent opponent will take actions to earn prestige. First, roll the 2 main dice. Generate resources appropriate for yourself if applicable. The artificially intelligent opponent doesn't track resources in the game because it is treated as though it has unlimited resources. Now you will look at your artificial intelligence card and see which high command actions you will take for the artificially intelligent opponent. Use action tracker cubes to keep track of the actions as you take them. If you attack the opponent, or an event causes the opponent to scatter its population figures on a planet, the opponent will scatter to as many different planets as it can. If an asteroid exists in the galaxy, reduce the asteroid die on it by 1, as if the opponent had mined it. If there are multiple asteroids, reduce the asteroid with the highest asteroid die value. In the chance that multiple asteroids have the same values on their asteroid dice, the opponent mines the asteroid in the solar system closest to the dice cards and in the column with the highest dice card value. The game ends as normal, and the artificially intelligent opponent earns prestige as appropriate to its artificial intelligence card. If you have more prestige than your opponent, you win the solitaire version of Stellar Leap. Please do note that this is the rough draft of the solitaire version of the game, and they are subject to change. There is also a 5th player variant for Stellar Leap, which includes a token called the Exhausted Token. The game is played as normal for a 2 to 4 player game, except the Exhausted Token is now used. It begins with a player to the right of the first player, and each time a player ends her turn, she takes the Exhausted Token. If a player has the Exhausted Token, she cannot gather resources generated on planets in which she has population figures. The rest of the game plays as normal. That's how you set up and play Stellar Leap. Thanks for watching the Learn to Play video for Stellar Leap from Weird Giraffe Games. If you would like to learn more about Stellar Leap, you can visit Weird Giraffe Games' website at weirdgiraffegames.com. Thanks for watching Cassie's Learn to Play video for Stellar Leap. I'll see you next time.